Hello and welcome back to the Gerry Leeds United show. We're just a few minutes after the final whistle at the Emirates, where Leeds have unfortunately lost 4-2 to Arsenal. Certainly a game of two halves. Leeds come out in the second half and put up a bit of fight and showed a bit more in the second part. So still a defeat, but there were some signs of encouragement in the second half. So I'm going to have a chat about the game, and welcome to the channel as well. This is, I think, the first time Heidi Haig has been on. So welcome, Heidi, and if you just want to give me just your initial thoughts then of what you thought of the game today.
Well, to be honest, I think we lost it with our lineup at the start of the game. I just thought we should have kept striking his strongest position, which is in the back four, and put somebody else in that holding position for Phillips. I just think we were at sixes and sevens. I know Arsenal upped the game for today, and the first half they were definitely the better team and run us ragged most of it. But once we went a goal down, I thought we needed to change it, but we didn't do. And I thought Bielsa's probably hanging on till half time, but by half time it was far too late to do anything about it. But I mean, what you see from Bielsa is what you get basically. And I know he's got to do it his way, even if I don't agree with it. But it was still quite frustrating when you just knew what was going to happen. You could see it happening. And I know we've got hindsight because we're above the pitch and it's a different one when you're close to the pitch and everything. But I just feel we should have done something about it a lot earlier. And yes, the second half, we never gave up, which we never do anyway. And it'd have been nice to come back and win 5-4, but I don't think there was any chance of it really.
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying about the positions. As soon as I seen it, I seen the lineup and I kind of thought to myself that, like, obviously with Calvin out, it was going to be either Tyler Roberts or Shackleton that come in. And I thought straight away Shackleton's going to come in, and never for 1 minute until Sky were lining up the team and they were like showing Shackleton playing right back, and it never even occurred to me that that was what Bielsa was going to do. And I kind of like, even whenever I was seeing Sky doing it, I was sitting looking at it and thinking, nah, no way. He's not like, we've already seen that. We've already seen this stroke in defensive midfield, and it hasn't worked. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a really good player, but he's a centre back. There's no doubt about it. Like you wonder, like what is that? What is he doing in training? Like, is he playing like he's like sort of vintage like Perlo or something? That Bielsa keeps thinking that he can put him in there, and it just didn't work. Shackleton again as well at right back. Whenever he went to midfield, I thought he was so much better. I just thought he's a real bundle of energy. I really like him in midfield, and I think he's a quality player. But he just doesn't look comfortable at all at right back, and it just felt like there was a wee triangle there in the middle of the pitch where you have Ealing playing centre back when he should be at right back. You have Strait playing midfield when he should be at centre back, and you've got Shackleton playing right back when he should be in midfield. It just felt wrong. It looked wrong. I think even some of the goals, you could maybe say they looked a wee bit unsettled. They didn't look comfortable in their positions, and that allowed them a wee bit of space, which they otherwise shouldn't have had. But at the end of Bielsa's, he's so far in credit, that we can, for me, he's like the most influential in years and years. Like, you're probably at least 30 years going back to when we won the league in '92. And at the end of the day, it's hard to criticise him, but I do think that today was on him. And I don't like to say that, but I wouldn't criticise the players. What would you think of that?
Well, I think it's right. I mean, he's set in his ways as Bielsa, and he will only he doesn't like making changes. But as you say, until that lineup happened on the pitch, and I just never for 1 minute thought he would change that settled back four, because it was working and working in our favour. So why would you change something that was working for something that it don't work a lot of the time? So yeah, I do feel he made the mistake from the start, and again he'll learn from it, and you've just got to move on afterwards. But at the end of the day, we could have done something a lot more with that game if we'd had people playing in the proper positions, playing to our strengths, instead of giving Arsenal carte blanche really to just run rings round us, which is what happened in that first half.
I think it is, and in some ways it can be all the more frustrating because of like how like there was sort of like a 10 or 15 minute period, although we were like well behind, but you could kind of feel that we were giving Arsenal a wee bit, to think about and scare them a wee bit, and it just makes it all the more frustrating that like you seen what we could do, and obviously we give them that such a start. So on the first half, I know a few people then were sort of saying that the 3 goals were all the goalkeeper's fault. Where would you stand on that? Personally, I thought 2 of them I thought were him, but I thought the first one was more just the striker. I thought sort of sold him a wee bit where he moved the ball to that side like he was going to swerve it around the defender and then cut back. And I thought it was a good goal. But what would you say about those goals?
With that first one, I mean, I thought it was going to the other side of him, and then the caught us all unawares. And he still got through to defenders when all said and done. The penalty that they were given, I was sort of saying to my husband it wasn't one. He's saying yes it was. I'm saying no, it went down too easily. So I was that were proved right. But then of course the second one, I was saying don't go back. At that time they put him under pressure, and yes, he got caught out, but it was the fact that we played back when we shouldn't have gone back. And our best form of defence is attack, and by going back all the time, you're inviting Arsenal to attack you anyway. So that wasn't really a good thing from my point of view. But yes, he shouldn't have got beaten at the near post, but these things happen, and I'd much rather have him in goal than any other person we've had, because I feel a lot safer with him. But again, it depends what happens in front of him, what happens in the defence and in the saves he makes. So I'm happy that he's still there, and he's just got to pick himself up off the floor and just get on with it. And we're always going to lose some. It's not always going to work in our favour, but we've lost. Carry on. Just go to the next game now.
I think it's interesting as well because he is such a young goalkeeper. You don't want to be like blaming a young goalkeeper for mistakes, and the way we play as well. You want your goalkeeper kind of to be good with his feet. It's the modern way. Is the modern goalkeeper all have to be good with their feet and all this here, and because he's young and it wasn't a normal the normal back four in front of him, so you can kind of, I think there's definitely things that you could point to and say he was under a bit of pressure. It maybe wasn't entirely fair, the situation that he was put into. Like a few of them, I also think Struijk, was sort of thrown under the bus a wee bit, and Shackleton, where they were asked to play out of position. Both young players, and both players who certainly them 3 are all players who I think, over the next sort of 5 years can be very important for Leeds United. So it was disappointing just, that they sort of suffered like they did today. Half time, Bielsa made the changes, and it really couldn't have got off to a worse start. I know Costa's come under a wee bit of pressure lately. Sort of he's been getting it. And the first thing he does is gives the possession away, and it leads to the goal. And I'm just sitting thinking, what have you done? Is this really just made this worse? And obviously, it was disappointing to score, but I thought he turned himself around a wee bit as well, and he got a goal, was involved, and I was delighted as well to see Struijk scoring. Obviously, was at the Palace game there. He could have had a hat trick,
and at least he won. Very
commanding header.
Yeah, I'm glad for that lad because I said once he learns how to put him into the net with his head, I says he'll be a good one, because I says how many times have we been able to score from corners with headers? That's something we've been very weak on for a long time. So I was pleased to see him get that one. And yes, with Costa, when they brought Costa and Roberts on at half time, I just felt they're not really the answer, in the sense they're not the strongest players. They give possession away too much. But yeah, as you say, it turned it round a bit. And, with a bit of luck in that second half, we maybe would have got it a bit closer. But I know we will always put a fight up and we'll play for 90 minutes. But it's disappointing that we could have maybe got something out of it if we'd have just change things a little bit earlier rather than wait till half time to do something about the formation. I wasn't thinking about bringing subs on. It was changing our formation. And at one point, I thought he had put Struijk back in the defence, but then I realised it was just how the play had been. So, whether it had made a difference, who knows? But you've got to play to your strengths. We have to play to our strengths, and that's when we grow from it.
I think we have to mention as well, the young lad Huggins got an opportunity, so it's nice to see some of these young boys. Like I don't know if have you caught any of the under-23s games?
No, I don't normally get a chance to watch any of them at the moment. I mean, I see odd bits, see goals and stuff, but it's another young prospect, and he did well, did the lad. And I suppose the thing is, at that time we were really out of the game, and it could put him on sort of under no pressure. But we did nearly turn it around again. If sort of that, there's a couple we came close to. If we'd have just got that third one, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, the third goal puts a bit of pressure on. I have to be honest, never seen him and bringing on Huggins. I kind of thought to myself, like this is one hell of an introduction. Like, you're getting hammered away from home and stick the young lad in, and I just kind of felt like he's going to get through under the bus here. But he done well, and like certainly from when he was on, I don't know whether we won 1-0 for that part or 2-0 for that part for his wee bit of the period, but he come on and he done okay. I think he had a wee bit at right back and a wee bit at left back, so he's a Bielsa player where he likes to get there and thereabouts in. So just before we move on then from today's game, I just sort of wanted to ask, what do you think? Obviously we've got Wolves on Friday night, and if Calvin's not fit, what do you see? Do you think Bielsa will go with the same 11, or do you think he might be closer to the 11 that finished the game?
I think we've got to put Struijk in that back line and play to our strengths, keep Ayling at right back. And some people have been saying when we've had Klitsch in that role of Phillips, we've done really well. So it might be that we move him back and change the formation that way, rather than get rid of your settled back four that was it seemed to be working. But Bielsa being Bielsa will, no doubt surprise us all. But you've got to take the rough with the smooth, unfortunately, and it's not always going to work out for us. But he is one person who does reflect, and he does try to make amends the next game. So it would be nice for that to work in our favour.
No, I definitely agree. Where I can imagine he's sitting somewhere in the Emirates Stadium at the minute, probably taking notes and thinking, this is what I'm going to do against Wolves. He's probably got exactly everything that he's going to do, everything he's going to say. He's definitely methodical in the work that he does, and everything he does for a reason. So it'll be interesting to see. I look forward to the game, and I have to be honest, I do. Like, I felt so much more positive after the second half performance. Like at half time, I just felt so. It was just like I know there's they talk about the London thing, and obviously the sort of the big traditional big games. We've took a few hammerings on the road against the sort of bigger sides, and I'm glad that we kind of done a good second half. So we don't want to dwell on the game too much. At the end of the day, we lost the game. Football's football. We'll move on and hopefully get a positive result on Friday night. But as I was saying to you before we come on live, I wanted to talk to you as well about you've a bit of experience, and one of my ambitions is to write a book, and I think you have. Is it two? At least two, have you?
No, I've got 7 now.
7? Are they all Leeds
United ones? Yeah.
All Leeds United ones.
Yeah, my first one. Follow me in Leeds United. Then always a Leeds fan. Then I did a joint one with Andrew Dalton called The Good, the Bad and the Ugly of Leeds United, which is based on the 1980s. Then I did, is it The Sleeping Giant Awakens, then Back to Reality? I'm not sure which way round they were. Then Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United, then Leeds are going to the Premier League. So that's up to now.
I think the two that I knew of were the first one and the last one.
Yeah.
So what like it's as I say, it's something like my kind of like obviously I've been doing these with YouTube chats and stuff for a while, but a couple of months really I've been doing them. And before that, I've been sort of just writing about football since about 2012. Um, I've done I've done a lot of articles, but the difference, like how do you find the difference in an idea for a book and if you were just like writing something like shorter? Like how do you sort of get the inspiration for it?
Well, the first one, Follow Me in Leeds United, is based on a diary I kept in the 70s when I didn't miss a game, home or away for 7 years, and was a girl in a man's world. And it was quite a torrid time in those days for us as young females, but also for the violence and trouble on the terraces, and you taking your lives into your own hands, going to football, just to support your team. I mean, just brings you back to Arsenal and being followed all around the stadium. And, there's all sorts of stories that happened. And I used to go home and just write things down. To begin with, there wasn't a lot. But then the more and more things that happened, you just used to just write them down. I mean, the thing is, it doesn't probably flow as good as it should do, because I did write everything down sort of from start to finish. But I got to about 168,000 words and only needed about 80,000. So then you start chopping and changing. But I thought I'd kept my original copy, but I hadn't done. So, yeah, I admit, I know some people said it jumps around a lot, but I've tried to sort of follow a pattern in certain aspects. And it took you to the games abroad, because I was lucky enough to go to Salonika and Paris and went on the European Cup run in the 70s. So, it's my experiences as a fan, and it takes you where we went and the things that happened to us, but also to the other Leeds fans around us. And the fact is, we've got a fantastic camaraderie with our fan base that started in those days, that's still evident to this day as well. And sort of that was what happened with that one. And it's a bit similar with the second one, but I got other people's stories as well. And the first one was all my photos that I'd taken around that time, which I've been sharing on my website, early last year, just to take our minds off things going on in the background. And I got quite a lot of good response from people. The one with Andrew Dalton was just basically on the 80s itself. And then I said I wasn't going to do any more because the stress of trying to do it and work and everything else was just a heck of a lot of things. But then I started doing the blog. I don't know when I actually started doing it. And because I sort of do a write-up after every game, I based the last four have been based on the match by match experience at games, and it's how we've played, because things, people think, oh, we just waltzed through the league when we won it with Marcelo, the other year, but we didn't. You see the ups and downs, the trauma you go through, the actual, expletives that I shouted at Casilla and things like that, when we knew we'd had his chance taken away against Derby and stuff like that. So it's there is some humour in it, hopefully, but I take, when I go to, I'm home and away season ticket holder, and I take fans, photos of fans on at the games, and that's what I share as part of my blog, but a lot of them are included in my books. Now this year it's obviously going to be completely different. So I would think I will probably do one, because people get to expect it, but it won't be the same, no doubt, with us not being there. It's all behind closed doors. But I'm trying to share some photos from the past now to just try and include it. And if people have any they want to share with me, I can include them as well. But so it's just my experiences of going to follow Leeds United, basically. But it does tell a story of where we've gone. It's just how it is, really. But that's really it.
Yeah. So I'm interested to know as well. Like, obviously, like You can always tell. See, whenever like you're talking like football, and I know that like there's some times where like women in football as well, you know, kind of get they sometimes get a bit of stick and stuff, and like at the same time, like I could sit and I could talk to somebody about football, and I'm sure you're the same, where you can tell, man or woman, you can tell within 20 seconds how into football they are. Do you know what I mean? And I can tell, like, obviously, you know, the places you've been, the things you've seen, you know, I can tell straight away. I like we've never spoke before, and I'm always kind of like, I wonder how this interview's going to be. Like every one of my interviews that I do, but I can tell straight away, you know, as soon as I talk to you, you know, you're into football. So like in the modern era, like obviously I've heard stories, you know, about like what following football and women in the 70s, and I know that people say that there's a lot more women following football now, and young people and all that there. But I'm just wondering, kind of like since the emergence of social media, where every idiot has a voice, um, how would you like compare being a woman following football in the 70s to like would there still be people would give you grief, or have you kind of earned that like you've more than like 7 books about Leeds, like you know, like you're probably in the top 1% of Leeds fans there, like do you know what I mean? So like what way do people react to you?
I think there is a lot of respect there because I've been there and I've done it and I've seen it and I've experienced it. But I do try not to slag people off, and I think that's the difference. A lot of people you see getting stick, they're slagging people off left, right, and centre, and I've had to be very mindful of how you conduct yourself on social media because it's so easy to get sucked into that. You know, and I've seen what happens to people. So I do try to sort of treat people how I want to be treated. And that's one thing that it showed me back in the 70s. I would treat people how I wanted to be treated because I wouldn't want them to go through what I had to go through. But it was a learning curve. I think it made me a better person in the long run. But I wouldn't want to say I want to go through all that sort of trauma, you know, the emotional trauma as well as the abuse that we were given and everything else, you know, and it was bad. It was bad. But the thing is, even those who I had trouble from in those days, who thought you were just going to look for lads for sex, that's basically what you weren't going to football to watch your team. That's what you were looking for, fellas. But I know one of them, I saw him a few years ago, and he says, "What did you write about me in that book for?" And I says, "Because it was true." And he went, "I know." So, and we made up. You know, at the end of the day, it's happened, it's past, and I don't bear grudges. So you've just got to deal with it. But I've seen a lot for younger girls now, and it is hard for them. And I can see comparisons to what I had to go through in those days as well. But you know, it's difficult, and even my daughters had to go through it at one point. You know, so. I would hope that I have earned that respect from people. But you know, we do have a lot of people that I talk to. I mean, even when I wrote my first book, people I hadn't seen for 40 years came out of the woodwork, and you carry on where you left off, you know. And that's the one good thing about Leeds fans is we can reminisce like there's no tomorrow, and you know, talk about when we went to this game, when we went to that game, and what happened here. And I mean, one lad said to me, "How did you remember I got hit by a plank of wood at Wolverhampton?" And I says, "Because I wrote it in my diary." So you know, but it's a talking point because he knows it happened, and I know it happened, and I put it in a book, and he knows it's happened. But it's just like, wow, I remember that, and that's what it is. It's a lot of memories, and hopefully it will bring a lot of memories back for people, and like all the photos. So
What do you think? Like, see, whenever you were like writing, obviously your diary and the whenever you were, you know, experiencing all these things, and like if somehow somebody had come to you and says one day you're going to write a book about all this, like what would have been your attitude at the time? Like, do you think you would have thought, "I well, you know, that's kind of that could be the end goal here," or just you would have thought it was just so far removed. It was just something that was personal to you, or what did you think at the time?
Well, I suppose I never even thought it would ever happen like that. I mean, I kept the diary because it was it was so real, and actually the violence in it makes you scared to relive that these days. You realise how bad things were by reliving it. But I would have never dreamt that I was going to write anything in the long run. I just thought I didn't think I was good enough. But Gerry Edwards, a great friend of ours, and he's written loads of books and is a big Leeds fan. And it was my friend Carol and friend Sue. We just said, we should write about our experiences. But because I wrote so much, I just went on and did it myself. And I just never thought it would happen. And I didn't think I'd write this many, but now it feels like I've got to carry on, if you know what I mean, because people expect it. But, there will come a day, no doubt, when people say, I've had enough of you and whatever, and that might happen at some point, that I just stop. But at this moment in time, just keep going as long as I possibly can.
And with regards to your books, then, do you self-publish them, or have you got a publisher that you go to regularly?
I have got a publisher, and he does it on a sort of print on demand thing. So it's not like your traditional publisher, should I say, where you get a load of money sent at you, this, that, and other. I've got to do all my own marketing and stuff. And I'll be honest, I'm not really a brilliant salesperson. I'll mention it and I'll show them, but I don't like to push anybody. If people want to buy it, they'll buy it. But I try to sort of get it out there so people know about it and they can make their own minds up then, and people can use them for Christmas presents and birthday presents, which a lot of people do. But you see, my main selling point, I think, was going to games, being there in person, showing the books there, and people would bet, I'll have one of those. And because I used to carry them with me, but it's getting a bit heavy as my bag now with 7 in there. But it's that's sort of my main selling point, and taking the photos of fans. But it's just I just like to share them with other Leeds fans, and I share them around the world with everybody when I do my blog.
I think it's definitely interesting as well what you say about the selling thing. I 100% could see myself like that, where like I just hate asking people for come and do your, or it's like if you're putting something up, or you're trying to sell something to them, or even like stuff with the kids, getting them if they're doing something sponsored. I just hate going to people and asking them and I can definitely see that. So see your books. Is any of them on Kindle versions? Can you get Kindle versions, or are they only hard copies?
Some of them are. I mean, I would have liked to have them all on that. And JMD Media is my publisher. I mean, there's links on my websites to them as well. My website and Twitter and everything. But my website is www.followmeinleedsunited.co.uk, and everything that I do goes onto there, and that's what I sort of share around the world. So there's links on there to it all. And I think there's a 25% discount if people go through my website to it. So, but it's available on Amazon and things. And it's just, if people want to share it for me, that'd be brilliant. But I've probably got to do it.
I for one, definitely will. I'll get some stuff shared later online. But I was going to say something else as well. But I'm going to let you into a secret here. So I'm going to have a look. Then you're saying some of them are Kindle versions, so hopefully nobody that I work with's watching this. But sometimes where I work's really bad signal, and so what I do sometimes is because you're sitting and you're maybe having a break and you're sneaking a wee look on your phone, and you can't do it. You can't go on the internet. You can't look up. I'm a wild man for it. Lunchtime, going on the actual internet on the computer and looking up news now to see the latest at Leeds or whatever. So the thing I started to do is I actually started to download the Kindle books, because you don't need the signal to look at them. So anytime I'm on a break, I'm sitting having a wee read at one of them. So if I'm reading one that's it's on the Don Revy years, so I don't remember like done every bit. It was when my dad started supporting Leeds in 1970. And like I've heard bits of the stories, I've read a couple of the books. I might even have read you says about Andrew Dalton. He released he was one of the 100 Years books, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have that one upstairs. And I've read it. So like I've read different bits and bobs, but I always find it really entertaining about some of like the history. Like it seems like Leeds that kind of whenever I was reading, I think it was the the Andrew Dalton one. I'm not 100% sure because I know there was two at the time, wasn't there?
Yeah,
That
I could have got involved in that one, but I just said I'm under too much pressure. I just physically can't do it. So I had to back away from that one. But yes, it would have been the one to get my name out there even more. But at the end of the day, you can only do what you can do. And I retire later this year, so it means I can hopefully spend all my time doing my Leeds United stuff, and we'll see what happens. But at least
it's just an opportunity, really, isn't it? No, it's definitely like obviously if you're retiring and you've got a great opportunity there, that like it's like I always say like if I won like a load of money and like people are like, would you quit your job? And I was like, yeah, of course I would quit my job. And what I would do is I would sit and I would write about football all day. It's the dream. Look, it's the dream, and I'm always envious of anybody that's doing it. And as I say, like I wrote like a load of stuff where like I kind of like older like historical stories. So I've done like stuff. I've done like articles about the Torino team. The one that they were in the plane crash, and I think it was it the late 30s or late 40s? I think it was the 40s. I've done like a big article about them. I've done articles about like the Colombian football when like Escobar and all was like, but I've never kind of got beyond like maybe about 5,000 words. So I need to kind of there's it's a big jump up the 80,000 for me, like, so I need to get an idea in my head and go into it.
I'm trying to do my mum's life story, but I can't really get flowing at the moment. But I'm hoping that comes at some point, So that is one thing I'm aiming to do as well. So I've got to get that completed as well.
So what I'm going to ask you now, and I apologise for putting you on the spot on it, because I should have really prepared this. But whenever I'm sitting here talking to somebody that has as many memories of Leeds United as you have, I have to ask it. So, like, if you can give me your top three, like trips, or be it a trip for something that happened, or just the game itself. So, give me your top three.
Well, my top one is Wembley '72. Going there and seeing Billy lift the cup at the end of that game is a dream come true. It will always be my favourite game. It was a perfect day, apart from Mick Jones getting injured. And basically, the whole build up to the game, because the FA Cup was special in those days, and that's why I hold it dear to this day. And the community singing before the game with Abide With Me and the national anthem, they were just awe-inspiring. When the whole stadium was singing it, it's still spine-tingling to this day for me. And Tommy Steele wearing whites, who was a Leeds fan, and Her Majesty the Queen being the one, so she's a Leeds fan, But that to me will always be my favourite game. And despite us losing in Salonika and Paris, I'm glad I had the opportunity to be there and witness it for myself. And, being able to actually go to those finals, even though I didn't originally get a ticket for Paris, and that was going to be my 70th game that season. And the club says, "Oh, you can watch it on telly. You'll be pleased to know." No chance at all. I'm going to that game with or without a ticket. And I did end up with two, courtesy of my friend Carol. She had got an extra one on a season ticket, so I got one from her. And then we travelled with the same trip, the Bulls office trip that we went to Barcelona with, because we'd gone on that trip. We got another ticket for Paris, so I sold that at face value to a Leeds fan outside the ground that I knew. So just being there to experience it, and even in Paris up to that, up to Lorimer's goal, it had been perfect. But I immediately looked at the linesman, because obviously the offside, they signalled a goal, we were all cheering, and then Beckenbauer spoke to the referee, and everything else is history. And I'll never forgive him for that. But never forgive, never forget, but we will always be champions of Europe. So
I know. I was actually watching one of the programs that Sky Sports used to do on the, like the football's greatest teams and them ones that the shows they do, and it was a Bayern Munich one, and it showed you the highlights of that game, and I can't remember whether it was Beckenbauer, it was one of them anyway, like, and they were kind of like, yeah, it probably was, we probably got a bit of luck. No, they're really playing it down, but they were basically saying, yeah, we robbed them, like, but I know my dad always talks about it, and whenever you mention actually the '72 FA Cup final, it was his 60th last year, 2019, and I was kind of like, I wanted to get him something Leeds, because like that's why I swear Leeds, like there's not a massive amount of Leeds fans in Ireland, like, so, but I ended up getting him like a replica of Alan Clark's top from the final. So yeah, so that was one. So I know it's one that he's always very keen on, like, and he started supporting Leeds. Actually, it was the 1970 final against Chelsea, and he says like all his friends were kind of like supporting Chelsea, and he was kind of like, right, well, I'm gonna go the other road. So I could be sitting here talking to some Chelsea tube about about some Roman Abramovich and all the money, So, but no, it wasn't always the easiest choice, but I'm glad he did. And he went the Leeds way in the end, but it definitely wasn't the easiest. Certainly over the last 16 years anyway. But no, it's really interesting to hear all the the old games and stuff, and as I say, I'm gonna go on the Kindle and see what ones I can sneak on. Just don't tell my boss. And I'm gonna be sharing all the links. I know it because I've been on your website a couple of times. I know you shared at least one report into the wee chat that we have, and then I know I went on and I read it, and then I was flicking about your website and stuff, and I was on different stuff. So we'll share that as well. But I hope that you'll be able to come on a few more times, and hopefully in better circumstances after a win or before. It's disappointing that we have to talk after a win or after a defeat, but certainly I found it entertaining anyway.
Yeah, it's flaw basically, but the thing is, Leeds United is deep in your heart. Once you're a Leeds fan, it stays there, and it's there in your heart. And I'm still as passionate and as mad as I was in all those earlier days. I'm still as mad and passionate now. I kick every ball and get worked up and everything else. But at least when I take photos at games, it stops me getting a bit stupid. But you've got to do it, haven't you? If I'll still leap in the air if we score, and even when Strike's header were in and Costa's, that were it straight away up in the air.
I think tonight it was kind of like whenever the strike goal was kind of like, all right, well, there's one back, and then the Costa one, that it definitely had me kind of sitting a wee bit closer to the TV and kind of like, are we going to do something here? And all I could think of was the time Arsenal threw away the 4-0 lead against Newcastle, and I was thinking, could we do this today? And for a wee while, it got the heart racing a wee bit, but in the end of the day, it wasn't to be. But do you know what? We're in a good place. The worst thing that could happen today was we were 11th in the Premier League and like 17 points clear of relegation zone. So we're going to be there next year, and hopefully things in the country improve where everybody can be at the games and stuff, and it gets better in that respect. But as I say, I wanted to say thank you for you to come on. Robbie's talking about a defeat, but definitely, to get talking about the books, that was whenever I was messaged earlier into the wee group, and I was kind of, I always check in to see if anybody else wants to come on, and whenever nobody else was coming on, I was kind of thinking, if somebody else comes on here, I'm not really going to be able to ask her about her books, because like somebody else will be sitting there like a spare wheel, and so I was kind of glad in a way, that nobody else come on, but it's good to hear about it, and I'm definitely going to share all the links and stuff to it, and I'm going to be getting on the Kindle, and I'm going to be reading it all this week and work.
Well,
But
got to get on with my blog after this, so that's my next one, and then share that around the world anyway. So,
see you with regard to your blog, like what kind of like what sort of numbers would you be getting on it? Would you give a good following? Or I know it's so hard to get people, isn't it? It's like you put stuff in, you put so much into it, and then sometimes there's just not as many hits as the work deserves. Do you feel, does it frustrate? Or
there's probably, there might only be a few hundred, who knows? But at the end of the day, those who read it, they enjoy it, they want to read it, they look forward to it, because people around the world who can't actually get to games, it keeps them in touch with Leeds United, keeps you in touch with the fans who actually at the games or on the terraces, etc. So, if it makes some people happy, then that's it. But yes, I know at times you think, am I wasting my time? But then you just think, well, what about the people who do want it? So at the end of the day, that's who I do it for.
no, that's a very good attitude to have. I know for me, like for my writing, like it was actually like I used to be like mad for like gambling, and then I stopped gambling, and for about 6 months, I was like I felt like I couldn't watch football without, like, I was like, what am I going to be doing? Like, am I watching this year and thinking like I want to do a bit or something? And for me, then it was Euro 2012, and I started writing about football. So for me, it's always like not about necessarily how many people read it. It's for me, it's like kind of like a therapy type thing, where it's like this gives me a reason to follow football in the way I did, as much as whenever I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? It's things. Some things have changed, but I'm still looking at things and trying to take as much in as I can. And as I say, see if you're getting a couple of hundred people reading it, that's way better than anything I ever done. Like, so yeah, really, it's really good. And as I say, one of these days, I hope to follow in your footsteps and be an author. Who knows? It could be a rival Leeds United author. You never know.
I'd always. The thing is, I would always encourage anybody to put their own stories to pen and paper, because even though we were all at the same games, a lot of us, everybody still had different stories to tell. Yeah. I'll always be interested in reading what others have to say. So, yeah, you go for it.
Definitely. But no, so as I say, thanks very much, Heidi, for joining me today. I've got you in the wee chat, so hopefully over the next couple of weeks you'll be back on, and as I say, I'll get all the sharing of your books, and thanks to everybody that watched, and thanks to you, and like I say, we'll go for now, but tomorrow night on the channel I have Jenny, who's been a guest a few times. He's going to do the past, present, and future series, where he picks his past, present, and future favourite Leeds players. So that's on, and then we'll be back at some point later in the week before the Wolves game. So hopefully everybody can join us then, and until then, hopefully we'll lift ourselves up off the ground after a disappointing result. But we're still sitting nicely. So thank you, everyone.